Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome again to this episode number 4. I apologize, it's been a little bit chaotic and we haven't been consistent in the last 2 weeks. But yeah, we're here again to continue with our series, Courage to Stay, Voices from the Edge. And today we're going to do our episode 4, which is on faith, hope, and harm. This episode today, it's going to be quite tender because we're speaking about faith. Yet at the same time, it can hurt us. So faith can both hold us or hurt us. And for many of us, faith is where we go to find hope, to find comfort, and to also find meaning. It's how we understand what suffering is. It's how we survive. But most of these other times, faith spaces can also become places or spaces of silence, shame, or spiritual bypass. And especially when it comes to suicide. I have sat or listened to people, and especially people who've been in a suicide crisis and who have also been deeply spiritual. And I've heard some of them say, I love God, but I feel like I am failing Him. Or, I have been told to pray more, yet I cannot be able to pray. To fast more and have more faith. This feels totally wrong for me. It's not even working. I have tried. These are not people who've actually lost their faith. They are people who are trying to find space for their pain within the faith or within their faith. But too often, they hear things like, you just needed to trust God more. This is a spiritual attack. Have you been praying? Why are you allowing the devil in? So in protecting yourself or in protecting oneself from hearing such kind of judgment or conversation, most people have stopped talking. And there's so much of pretense. And people suffer quietly inside those sanctuaries that no longer feel safe. But it just becomes like a duty to keep going in and coming out. One of the things I know or I have learned in my journey of faith is that faith should bring us closer to healing. It shouldn't be what is blocking the path to it, and that's the path to healing. But so often, pain is interpreted as lack of faith or belief. And at times, even mental illness is treated as a spiritual battle. And people are left not just broken, but feeling blamed, ashamed, and guilty of the circumstances that they're in. It's not that praise is wrong. I believe prayer is powerful, and prayer is powerful. I have seen prayer work. But prayer should be a hand and not a muzzle. It should be a place of landing and not a guilty trip like we've been made to believe. A couple of years ago, I met a young man who said, I was told that suicide is a sin, that I was choosing hell, and so I stopped going to church. And that made me feel all alone. End of quote. Another woman said, every time I cried or I continue to cry in church, they lay hands on me, but no one has ever asked me, what is wrong with you, or how can I pray for you? These stories are not rare. They are reality for many of us, especially in places where spirituality is central to life, but emotional suffering is still a taboo. As we sit to even reflect about this conversation we're having, I invite us to just sit and take a breath in. You could place your hand on your heart and another probably on your tummy, and even say gently, or even just feel it, I am not a sinner for struggling. God still sees me, even in the space that I am in. Another deep breath in, and a deep breath out. We don't have to be put in places where we get to choose between Jesus and therapist, or between our faith and the therapist, or where we get to choose between prayer and medication, or between scripture and self-compassion. We can still be spirit-filled and still need trauma healing. Fast and pray and still feel overwhelmed. We can still believe in a supreme being, God, and still feel like you're dying inside. Faith is not an either-or. It is a both and. And my invitation to us this evening, and especially to us who have served or who serve, to my two pastors, to imams, priests, elders, deacons, we do not have to have all the answers, but we can have an open door. We don't need to be therapists or professionals to save a life. What our people need is not perfection, but rather presence. So creating room and making room in our sermons and prayers and conversations where people can just come and say, I don't feel like I want to be here anymore. I feel ashamed. I'm even scared of how I am feeling. That this could still be accepted. That these places become refuge for the weary and not courtroom for the broken. Maybe we need to think about how do we even partner with mental health workers, and maybe even hold quiet circles, inviting trusted counselors to come and speak, and normalizing words like suicide, depression, trauma, anxiety, and even saying them out loud so that people don't have to carry them in silence. Because our voice, the compassion, might be the only difference between someone who is hiding and someone who is healing. So if you're here and we've been told the reason why you're suffering is because you didn't pray enough, I want you to know that you're still loved and this space is for you, and someone is willing to listen to your story. If you've ever walked away even from faith because it hurt you, we want to care for you. You deserve peace and a community of care Whether even now you're praying, doubting, or even simply just even breathing. Because in the sacred texts of many traditions, there's always someone who is crying out in the wilderness. Someone always wrestling in the darkness. Someone always who doesn't want to live another day. And somehow, they're still part of the story. They're still loved, chosen, and that could be us. Allow yourself to still seek help and support. Be compassionate with yourself. And we're going to end it there today. Thank you for being part of this. Thank you for being part of the conversation around faith. And next week, when we do the next episode, we'll speak about trauma in the body and how pain still shows up in the body. And we'll even explore a couple of somatic healing and what it means to feel safe in our own skin again. But for now, keep well, stay safe. With your faith, with your doubt, with your difference, with your ache, I still honor you and thank you for being you. Good afternoon, good morning.